In this video, I attempt to build an awesome staircase from a bunch of old slabs and a massive beam. The wood for the entire staircase is going to be this Douglas fir here, and Doug fir is a softwood, but it's very, very strong. But before I could really get too far, I had to get it cleaned up. So I went to the industrial shop I go to up in Portland, Creative Woodworking Northwest, and in like 2 hours, we got everything planed, squared, cut. It was the best, like, $250 I've ever spent. If you're wondering why I don't have a trailer to transport all this wood, fun fact, you don't need a trailer if you have the red flag of immunity. It wasn't just the lack of a trailer, everything about this project was too big for my tools. I have a pretty good sized circular saw. This will cut like 3.5 inches, but the short side of this beam was 10 inches. So what I did is I cut all 4 sides to give myself a nice good starting point, came back with a cheap handsaw and struggled at it for like 5 minutes. Finally, my friend Johnny Builds comes in and finished it off in like 10 seconds, but I swear I got him like 99% of the way there. My video guy Scott has recently learned to render, so we didn't have to just guess on all these angles. He made a 3D rendering, so we had everything drawn out. We made a nice little template there that you saw earlier. So hopefully everything should line up in the end, and as you can see, again, my saw is just a little too small, so I made those initial cuts to just give myself a good starting point to finish it off with a handsaw. This here is a vintage Japanese whaleback saw, and no, that does not mean it's designed to be used for slaughtering whales. It's actually designed to be cut with the grain only, and yes, I was using it to cut across the grain, but it actually worked. This was a pretty exhausting day. I had a bunch of different handsaws, and we just kept going through a random rotation of different saws and kicking it and hitting it with blocks until we found something that finally worked. Since I did not engineer a single aspect of this build, I'm going to add a bunch of bow ties to help secure some of those cracks. And while I don't know that a single bow tie is going to stop this staircase from breaking in half, it's not going to hurt. So I can't remember how many we had there. You can do the math real quick. Maybe 9 bow ties, give or take. And I'm using the Blacktail Studio bow tie jig. It's just a little bit cooler looking jig than any of the other ones I've seen out there for sale, but it's not necessarily going to be any stronger. And nice thing about using a jig is you can knock a bunch of these out at one time. So Johnny and I kind of went on an assembly line for putting all of these different bow ties in. The good news about this project is I got to buy some new tools. This is my new timber slick here. The bad news is I'm not very good working with it. I follow a number of different timber framing pages on Instagram, and they're always so satisfying, and that's what I envisioned in my head. I was just going to be having these perfect, tiny, satisfying curls coming off this, and eventually I realized that what I'm best at is throwing power tools at problems. So I got the belt sander in there, cleaned up all those horrible marks I had from the timber slick, and then it was starting to look like a semblance of a staircase. I thought it would look a little cooler and be a lot more secure if we notched this stringer so each stair tread just kind of clicked into it. And this is the best way that we came up with to do it, and I think it was a good enough way. We just made a bunch of slices with that track saw, then came back with our timber slicks and our hammers and whatever else we could find and just cleaned up all of those notches. As much as those notches will help hold the stair treads in place, I really don't trust my joinery enough to have it on a functional staircase that I'm carrying heavy stuff up and down to have that be the only thing that holds it in place. So I drilled a few holes. Don't worry though, we're going to plug them, and I won't say they'll be invisible, but they will be hardly noticeable by the time it's finished. I know this finish kind of looks like black paint, but it's really more of a black stain or a black dye, and it's a really cool finish. This one is an LED cured finish, and we were under kind of a time crunch. This is Johnny Builds. He was only there for 4 days, so this kind of quicker finishing process was paramount, and this is what it is. You just wipe it on, kind of wipe off the excess, and then hit it with this LED light, and it cures literally in like a second. It's a pretty cool technology. I would venture to guess that the fact that we know nothing about engineering means that this is going to be wildly over-engineered. We have these concrete bolts, we have multiple bolts up top, we have multiple screws up top. I really can't see a world in which at least this stringer comes down. Maybe we could break a stair tread off, but I think we should be pretty safe. And this is the finish for the stair treads. I initially was very confident in the color. It's called the Invisible Oil. At the end, I kind of wish I would have just went with the natural. This is almost like a slightly whitewashed look. For attaching it, I also had a little bit of construction adhesive along with these 4 screws. So I really don't think I'm going to break a 3.5 inch tread with construction adhesives and 4 screws, but we'll put it to the test. I got the final stair tread mounted and was ready to start filling these holes, and to do that I'm using a plug cutter. I've been using these for a couple of years now. This one was a little bit bigger than I normally use, but it's a really cool technology because you have to use it on a drill press. That's kind of the one catch, but they create these little tapered plugs, and so even if your hole is off by 1/100 of an inch or a couple hundredths of an inch, that taper just keeps going down until you get that perfectly snug fit. So they won't be invisible, but they also won't be noticeable. I guarantee anybody walking up these stairs will never notice them, but if you look down and try to find them, you will easily be able to see where they are. These plugs are obviously a slightly different color than the stair tread because there's no finish on them yet. So after I got these pared down, I did a light sanding and added another coat of that invisible oil before moving on to this N3 process here. And since these are a heavy use item, I definitely wanted a little bit more stain protection, so this N3 is going to help greatly with that. And I have an example at the end of just how easily it wipes clean after putting the N3 on. But here's the finished staircase. My wife called this the bougiest staircase in any shop. I think it's pretty freaking cool. I'm very confident in it, and here's just how easy that wipes clean. Not too bad.